for today's cup of coffee.
Cup of coffee.
Oh, it just keeps getting stranger and stranger, doesn't it?
Stranger things.
It's just,
Stranger
we
days.
are living in the upside down. I'm convinced of that.
Oh, the world is upside down right now.
And we're recording this on the 19th of, what is this? Yeah, it's still April. Oh, God. We've still got
like
several
this month
days.
Has just drug on.
Well, it's just like...
And drug its heels.
To a degree, and that has partially to do with the Mercury retrograde, but it also has to do with everybody being overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Because there is so much happening at once. And it's... Even those of us with the ADHD, and we have a tendency to be going in 15 different directions at the same time, but even more overwhelmed. We stay overwhelmed. That's why I take medication. Strattera is some good stuff.
I am not.
I don't even know how it works or why it works, but it works.
It's difficult when you're medication compliant.
Well,
non-compliant.
That is choice.
It is
that
choice.
Is
I am not
choice.
medication compliant.
But even with the medication, there are times as far as to just start mid-sentence, stop mid-sentence, all that stuff, and just change directions. That's ADHD.
It is. It is. It was really good when oh God, what was her name? Constance. She ADHD brain, so it worked right along.
Yeah.
Because she was able to follow.
Yes. And other neurospicy people, they don't have as hard a time understanding as the neurotypical.
No. Because they got similar brain patterns.
Yes. And neurotypical, it's one of those that it's a realm of which we have no understanding. It truly is.
And yet the neurotypicals look at us like we're crazy or something.
Yeah, because they have no understanding of what it's like to live inside with neurospicy.
No.
And that was like you were talking about as far as inner dialogue, and that some people don't have that. I can't even fathom that.
It's just empty. That's just it. It's just silence.
That's just...
It's empty like a ghost town.
But I don't... I can hear the words, but as far as to truly grasp the concept, I can't, because it is outside of my experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not. We neurospicies have stuff going on constantly.
Yeah,
and when you add external to that, there's going to be overwhelming.
Yes. And the way that the news cycles and everything have been, and, if you're doing social media or anything like that, my God, it's like, draw back from that just a minute. Mm-hmm. Just a minute. And sometimes that's where you really have to know your limit, and it's like, no, I've got to shut this down for a minute. I'm really getting overwhelmed.
Playing the Animal Crossing time. Simplicity, Animal Crossing.
Yeah, that's what I'm needing, is some simplicity. And it's like discussing things with the oldest kid, and it's like, my God, he is just... We will go down so many rabbit holes within a 20 or 30 minute conversation, and I mean, these are deep rabbit holes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always some kind of existential something. Because he's the oldest kid, and of course he is, and it's like, nerd. He's another nerd.
And then there's his wife and me.
You and BB, God love y'all.
Yeah.
I think it's what it is. It's a matter of needing that balance to remind us to get out of the rabbit holes from time to time.
And it's a balance for us to get out of that dream world once in a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's what we're all seeking right now, is a matter of balance, and it's sort of kind of hard to find right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So podling, that's that quest for simplicity.
The other day, you and I watched this dude who made like a maze for a squid octopus.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
The octopus, brilliant. And I don't know that I will ever eat calamari again after finding out how intelligent those creatures are.
Yeah. I mean, they're super smart and sweet, too.
But they don't live long. I didn't realize they had, like a 1.5-year lifespan?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that depends whether or not that's in the wild, or are they talking about in the wild or in captivity? Because in captivity, a lot of animals last a lot longer than they would out in the wild. Like hamsters. They have like a 1 to 2 year lifespan. But Deku,
Yeah.
he lived up to what?
He was over 3, wasn't he?
He was about, 4 years old maybe.
Something. Yeah. Yeah, some people have a tendency to think, oh, yes, I'm going to send it out into the wild and watch it be eaten by whatever. Because that's what it's like.
Very much.
I mean, how many of these videos...
Damn nature, you scary.
How many of these videos have we seen where somebody's like, I'm going to release it back into the wild, and then all of a sudden a predator, boom, it's gone.
Almost immediately. Mm-hmm. And they're just standing there like, oh my God!
But these people, and this shows that they have little to no concept of the actuality of nature.
Yeah. But I think we got to understand it because we do live in nature.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And that was like we watched that video about whoever it was trying to pet a raccoon, and they were surprised when they were bitten. And it's like... Let me tell you something. We have the raccoons, and it's like a lot of times they will be like 1 or 2 feet away from us, and that is entirely too close. We do not befriend the raccoons.
Yeah, you also...
Because they can carry rabies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you see how I got bit by the possum that one time because that lady was just sitting there minding her own business. She was smoking on her phone, and here that skunk comes up right under the seat.
Oh, now the skunk is one of those. It's like, I haven't seen any of those. I don't want to see any of those. And it's just like, no. I know they're out there. They have a tendency the skunks have a tendency to go under mom's deck. And they have for years.
Nasty.
And yes, they are. And well, they're gorgeous creatures.
Yeah.
And it's like, be gorgeous somewhere else.
Did you know people that actually have them as pets get those stink glands removed?
Yeah.
So, and after
you would have to.
And after that, they're actually really pleasant animals.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of them. But on something like that, it's like, okay, this is a wild animal. Leave it where it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But that's just me. I mean, we have enough cats and dogs and different things like that need homes.
Right.
Go shelters, different rescue shelters, different things like that. Get these, be responsible.
Now, I can completely understand them getting those hamsters out from the wild because they don't last.
Yeah. Well, that's a different
they're
type
prey.
of thing. That's a totally different, those exotic... I think they're still under the exotic pet category, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're so tiny.
They're tiny. They're
Most
fragile.
tiny things don't last long in nature.
Mm-mm. I mean, they're prey for the most part.
Mm-hmm. They're food.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what can you say? And so some of these creatures, you bring them in, you give them a better life than they would have in the wild. Mm-hmm. Do not give a child a hamster as a starter pet.
No, because people are like, oh, they're really simple. They're good starter pets. Bullshit. They are so...
delicate.
It's not, delicate, but their habitat has to be just so. It has to be perfect for them.
Yeah.
Those little cages that they sell at PetSmart that are just... tiny. Those are way too small for the majority of them.
I don't see how it is that people don't know. Research before you get a pet, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, how long?
I mean, people can go online now. It's not like back in the day where you had just living in ignorance of everything.
Researched years before getting Deku. Made sure everything was right for him.
But
I would do that for rats too. But
as far as PetSmart and these places selling things and people buying them out of ignorance, thinking that, oh, well, this must be okay, or they wouldn't be selling it here, And no.
Well, the thing is, they're viewed similar to goldfish or something like that. Goldfish are actually really sort of complicated to take care of properly.
Well, if you...
Because
yes
they grow
and no.
big.
They do. They grow according to the size of their environment.
Yeah.
And it was like the red cap that I had.
You love that thing.
I did. And he was my dishwashing buddy.
Mm-hmm.
And I had him there, and he was just in his little bowl to feed him. I could clean it easily and different things like that. And you and husband you insisted that he was bored. And it's like he's not bored. And so you all kept messing with his environment, and what happened?
Well, one, I was young, didn't know shit. Now, yeah, I know better now.
Yeah.
But we need to get you another red cap if we can.
You know, I had looked at, they're no longer trendy. And so I'm not aware, without us traveling great distance as far as individual pet stores.
Petco. Where's the closest Petco?
I think it would probably be up the road about an hour or so.
Okay, so it'd be about the same distance for PetSmart for us.
Yeah, pretty much. And that, it was just, they don't require that much. Mm-hmm. And if you just enjoy them and feed them and change their water, and they will thrive. They will thrive.
Yeah.
But if you keep messing with them, they do not.
No. I was actually thinking of saving up money for like one of those big fish tanks. Potentially putting
no.
right there.
No, because as far as trying to maintain one of those things, there was a lot of work in keeping an aquarium. Yeah. I've done it before. That's why I don't have one now.
Yeah, the turtle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lizard.
I've had lizards before, and again, these are animals that, as far as being in the wild, you had to have a much larger space than a lot of people are willing to or can afford right now.
Yeah.
It's like, I understand them. I appreciate them. That's the reason, as far as like the aquariums, like Ripley's aquarium and stuff, I could spend hours in those.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, of course, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a marine biologist because Jacques Cousteau was my hero. Because I was a weird kid. I was always a weird kid.
That's okay. Hey, there are some marine biologists that are artists too. Look at the dude that made SpongeBob.
Well, it's a little late for me to go into that kind of career at this point. It is. At 58 years old, I'm just like, it's like, leave me with my coffee. Let me sit on the porch, and y'all don't let the cats trip me.
You could talk about it online.
Well, yeah, it is. But the main basis of our discussion today, and it's just like, it's the discussion thus far, is typical of the ADHD overwhelmed week.
Yes.
Everything. But thinking about analog horror, and Kid and I had discussed the analog horror game trend. Mm-hmm. Or the videos online and stuff. And analog horror has been around for a while, and I found a really good article. There's a website that was called Studio Binder, and is by Kyle. I'm going to screw it up, and it's Deguzman, Deguzman, and this was written October 29th of 2023, and really good article. And BitChute and Rumble, you guys get the link. YouTube people, sorry. I don't know what YouTube's doing with their little podling cast right now. I really, really don't.
Well, they're fucking up a bunch of things, and I'm sorry for that gulp. That was a bad gulp.
And it's like, even as far as comments, I know that there was a comment that Joe had made this morning, and I saw it in the notifications, went to look at it under the actual video. It didn't show, so YouTube people, I don't know. Go to BitChute or Rumble.
Well, no joke. YouTube really is shooting themselves in the foot at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, dead ass. And it's going to end up being their detriment.
Well, it's just people get frustrated with it after a certain point. But going back to the analog horror.
Oh, horror.
It says that it's an intriguing subgenre that harks back to a bygone era and has been increasingly prevalent in the horror scene. Fusing elements of nostalgia, suspense, and eeriness, it presents a unique exploration of fear through a retro lens. But what is analog horror, and how does it distinguish itself from other subgenres of horror? How does it use elements from the past to evoke fear? Even just that opening paragraph is very well written.
It is.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because where I have to read news stories frequently, and they are not well written. So when I find a blog post or whatever, and it's like, yes, let me read, let me enjoy, paint pictures in my mind with your words. Because that's what writing is.
Yeah.
And so he goes on to explain... first, let's define analog horror. It's with its outdated technology and eerie ambiance creates a familiar yet uncanny atmosphere. It's influenced by other subgenres of horror while finding its own unique lane in cinema. And analog horror in film is a subgenre that heavily draws from the style and aesthetics of vintage analog media such as VHS and cassette tapes. It's a form of horror that capitalizes on the eerie quality of grainy footage, distorted audio, and archaic technology to create an unsettling atmosphere. The emphasis on analog media paves the way for a distinctive narrative style, relying heavily on subtext and environmental storytelling.
Let me add on to that.
Okay.
It also goes into the aesthetics of like PlayStation graphics, N64 graphics, stuff like that. Like that era of video gaming. It is
The pixel?
Well, the low poly models, stuff like that.
Okay.
And so it's very much just that grungy, like it's cool, but it gives off more of a effective fear approach with that style of gaming. Don't know why, but it does. That's why Silent Hill was so effective. Resident Evil back in the day, it was really effective.
Okay.
And that's what, like, for example, not Local 58. Project Gemini uses elements of PS1 graphics in there.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's the influence of found footage, and he writes, the found footage genre, which gained popularity through films like The Blair Witch Project and Paranormal Activity, has had a profound effect on the development of analog horror. It has played a significant role in shaping the stylistic and narrative elements of this subgenre of horror films. And being Blair Witch was so unique. And it's one of those, like, those of us who were not alive during when the Beatles came to America and stuff, we can't really appreciate it.
Right.
Now, the Blair Witch, I was here for.
You were.
And to sit there and go, okay, is this real? Is this not real? Because they had a whole campaign. They had the online, campaign about it. And you didn't know. And to sit and watch this, and it was a different type of movie.
It was the first of its kind.
Yes, it was. And was so effective.
Yeah.
Because it had that same element that Hitchcock knew. What the mind can conceive is so much more frightening than anything that could be actually shown on camera.
Yeah.
And it was almost this paranoia that the actors were responding to noises, and it's like the audience is like, did we hear that? What was that? Did I miss that? Let me. And so that heightened sense of awareness.
Do you remember the movie Bird Box?
Yeah, I think I was one
And
of
they
them, but I
could,
didn't.
like, the audience didn't know what the thing looked like.
Yeah,
At no point in the movie did you ever get to see the actual creature, so your
right.
mind had to make
Exactly.
up what it looked like.
Yeah. And so that's going up back on those elements, and it's an active. The audience becomes an active participant instead of just passive, because the brain is engaged to create and fill in what the eyes can't see.
Yeah.
So it is, yeah, it's some cool stuff. And it says that analog horror as a genre draws inspiration from techniques and aesthetics of found footage. It embraces a pseudo-realistic approach, blurring the line between fiction and reality, just like its predecessor. By employing degraded visuals and distorted audio, analog horror creates an atmosphere of unease and dread, similar to feelings evoked by found footage films. The history of analog horror can be traced back to the influence of found footage as it inherited and expanded upon the genre's core elements. This unique blend of techniques has captivated audiences and provided a fresh and immersive experience in the realm of horror cinema. And going back to the Blair Witch, when dude was just standing there in that corner.
That was creepy as
God,
shit.
it's still, I can watch
And all
it
you
today.
heard was the screaming in the background.
And those little baby hands on the wall.
Yeah.
Those handprints.
Little baby hands touching your feet.
Ooh.
Ooh.
It is still so well done.
It really is.
And I
That
know
movie
people
holds
that
up
hated it.
so... How?
Well, they did. They did, because it wasn't paint by number for them.
And we got a copy right there. Right there.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It is. So if you haven't watched it in a while, go back and I will
Don't
not
do the
watch
remake.
nothing.
Or the sequel. The sequel
The
sucked.
sequel was interesting. It had its own elements, but it was
not the
quite
same
a
as the-
departure from the original experience.
Yeah.
It was just more movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't a fan of the sequel.
Yeah, it was, yeah. Of course, I like Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, so if that tells you anything.
Well, the thing is, Halloween movies, it was meant to be like, Michael Myers wasn't meant to be through the
Yeah.
whole series. It was just meant to be for the first thing. And then the rest of the Halloween movies were supposed to be their own stories.
Yeah.
And so, but Michael Myers popped off, and so they wanted to use that cash cow and reuse it and reuse
That's
it.
exactly showing the money. It says characteristics of analog horror films have a unique charm as they skillfully exploit the limitations and idiosyncrasies of old technology and intensify the sense of horror. These films are characterized by distinctive elements that contribute to their eerie atmosphere and make them stand out from other genres. And grainy visuals. One of the defining features of analog horror is its utilization of grainy visuals. The deliberate use of film grain, digital noise, and intentionally degraded footage adds a raw and vintage aesthetic to the film. This visual imperfection of film grain and noise creates a sense of unease and nostalgia, transporting viewers to a different era where technology was less refined. This originated from the era of VHS, the internet, and tapes, all of which exhibited varying degrees of visual deterioration when compared to contemporary media. And so that's interesting that it is, as far as that nostalgia, it puts you in an uncanny valley type thing.
Yeah. I mean, it really does. Look at what they do with the backrooms and such. It is very much embedded
The backrooms
with...
are horribly unnerving.
Yeah, but analog horror is right in that.
Yes, it is, and it's very effective.
Yeah.
Distorted sound. In analog horror, the sound design plays a crucial role in building tension and evoking fear. The deliberate manipulation of audio, such as introducing glitches, static, and distortion, enhances the overall sense of unease. The distorted sound effects intensify the viewer's immersion in the unsettling world of the film, heightening their emotional response. And this is something that a lot of times is on a subconscious level. As far as sound, there's a lot of people that they really, within the film experience, any film experience, don't really think about the sound. But now, if it's one of those that the music is drowning out the voices, that's bad mixing. That's just bad mixing.
Have you ever heard the soundscapes in Silent Hill? Like the first 3 Silent Hills?
I don't think so.
Maybe even 4. It is really well done, and it is effective. It's not over the top. It works.
If you've got a really good
Less a
sound
lot of the
engineer,
time is more. Huh?
Yeah. If you've got a really good sound engineer,
Yeah.
and it's like, I don't know where some of these people are coming from on some of this stuff, but if you're missing dialogue, what are they doing? What were they doing?
A lot of the time, subtlety and less is more is key.
You know, unless it's something that they wanted them to miss parts of dialogue.
Right.
But on some of the movie, I think it's just piss poor sound engineers. I really think it's what it is.
It is.
And use of static and interference. Static and interference are frequently employed in analog horror films to create an unsettling atmosphere. These visual and auditory disruptions disrupt the viewer's perception, making them question the authenticity of what they are witnessing. The presence of static and interference adds an element of unpredictability and uneasiness, as if the viewer is peeking into something forbidden or supernatural. Now, they use that a lot in the, those things that they first mentioned, about the ghosts. Where it was like you were watching the CCTV about the ghost, Paranormal Activity.
Oh,
is
yeah.
that the name of it? Those actually made me crazy. I didn't. No.
They got so fucking ridiculous towards the end of that series.
I was just sort of like, what the hell is going on? There's nothing. I'm sitting here watching this. It was not effective for me, but I know people that absolutely love the series.
At a certain point, you see people get possessed. You see like doors and cabinets open and closing, and it's typical paranormal shit happening that I would rather just watch someone, do that for real than watch a movie.
And maybe that's what it is, because we have been in situations over the years where stuff like that has happened.
Yeah.
And we're like, this is not impressive.
Yeah. It doesn't affect us the same way.
Right. Maybe that's
it just
what
doesn't
it is.
hit right.
It's just our framework. And a fragmented narrative. Analog horror often embraces a fragmented narrative structure, leaving viewers to piece together the story themselves. This storytelling approach enhances the sense of mystery and unease as the audience becomes active participants in deciphering the plot. So there's another thing. By leaving gaps and unanswered questions, analog horror invites viewers to engage intellectually and emotionally, making the experience more immersive and disturbing. Analog horror films offer a unique and unsettling viewing experience by leveraging the limitations and quirks of old technology. Through grainy visuals, distorted sound, the use of static and interference, and fragmented narrative, these films transport viewers to a haunting world where the line between reality and supernatural blurs. Whether you're a fan of horror or simply intrigued by the unconventional, analog horror is sure to leave an indelible impression. For a general idea of analog horror genre, we've collected shots from some of our favorite films and using Studio Binder's Storyboard Creator, click the image, blah, blah, blah. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like I said, they're on BitChute and Rumble. You will have the link on that. And, Twitter. I might be able to share this on Twitter.
You mean X, previously known as
whatever.
Twitter.
Whatever. If I can do that, I will put that on there.
Yeah.
And is well written. And it gives you the overview of what the genre is about.
I was really impressed with that article.
I liked it. I liked it lots. I appreciate things that are well written because I do read all the damn time.
And you want to know something else about like analog horror as far as why people like it a lot better? It leaves a lot up to the imagination for audience interpretation. Because when you're just, for example, the Saw movies, at a certain point, it's just like, okay, yeah, it's like every other movie.
The Saw movies?
Yeah.
I
It's like every other movie, and you become
not.
desensitized to it after a while.
That's what scares me about them. That's why I don't do them. It is too realistic, and I'm like, no.
But with analog horror, it relies more on psychological.
Yes, I appreciate that,
and it's much more effective that way.
There is a thumbnail here for a YouTube video. It's called Doors. Have you ever heard of that before? We may watch that after a while and see, because it's got this lady standing there in her pajamas and this abnormal, grotesque
Hold up,
smile.
Let me come over there and see it. Let me come over there.
Okay. Well, you come right on with yourself. This is where we need 2 screens.
Okay, I've seen that thumbnail, but I've not watched it before.
We may have to partake in that and see how that works.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really good stuff, and it's like several cups back we had discussed the channel Dust, D-U-S-T. Mm-hmm. There's, as far as Rob Gavigan, he's doing the, what is it, the Greylock?
The Greylock Files, although it's not that.
And so there's quite a few of the content creators that are going and branching out into the analog horror dimension.
Well, once again, there's other ones like Project Gemini, Local 58. Oh God, what was the others? I know of the others. Their names are just not coming to mind. The Watson Files.
We'll try to put a list in the description box.
Yeah.
And you can go and explore and be unnerved.
Mm-hmm.
But it can also turn it off if you get too unnerved.
Project Gemini is about the moon being this sentient being and
wood
crawlers
creepy.
on Earth, and
it really is creepy.
Don't watch that at like 3 a.m, because that's when your mind really goes haywire with that shit.
And there is this.
I woke up to that shit before, and it scared the piss out of me.
There is a lingering quality to analog horror that I have not found in any other genre of it, that this stuff will be in the back of your brain and will come forward at some of the weirdest times.
Because it's psychological horror, and that's how it does.
I mean, we have been out in the dark, in the woods, not that often, but that's where at some point you're like, oh God, I hope I don't see some little stick figure thing hanging from a tree. Now, that's not going to happen around here.
Well, no, that would be one of us and making them hang around.
We would be those people.
Yeah.
Just to freak somebody out, you know? But this is what happens with analog horror. When you least expect it, the memory of that will come back, because it will be something similar. There will be something similar in an environment that's like, oop, I remember this. But do you really?
I don't know. The envision of that like root vein hand like forming, that will always be in the back of my mind, and the way that the camera flickers on it, and it's just and the sound that was playing over it too.
Yes.
Freaked my ass out.
Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff is really very effective.
Can't look at the moon. Mr. Moon be evil.
Now, with some of the content creators that are releasing these things in bits and pieces, and that you have to wait for sometimes weeks or months, I think that actually sort of detracts from it, because it breaks. I mean, there's no continuity. It's not the same thing as sitting and watching. If you can watch the full series in a go.
Right. Well, they're making it as they go along with it. And so what someone needs to do is actually write down the full story, produce the full thing, and then release it bit by bit by bit, so it would still have that cohesion to it.
Yes.
But Project Gemini, that's the best one because it is more so cohesive.
That wasn't the one where they were digging under the mountain or whatever was it, and that it was changing the people that had dug under the mountain, and they had found those artifacts. And
that was where the underground bunker or whatever, and the wood crawler was breaking in, and that was the same one where the moon, like,
was that part of that?
No, I think that was Local 58. Actually, that was the moon.
Anyhow,
but in Project Gemini, it had to do something with the moon being this entity called the Iris or something like that, and basically these people made deal with some sort of fucking entity out in the middle of the woods somewhere, and then everyone started changing. It started consuming them and turning into this visceral root like creatures that just stayed there.
Yeah. The one I was thinking of, it was like they had the photographs of the person, and then afterwards they had morphed.
Oh, that was Local 58.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
God, that was intense.
Yeah.
It's really so analog horror. If you're
really
not familiar with it, you know, and you're a horror fan. If you're not a horror fan, then, you know, just go out and have you another cup of coffee.
And the thing is, it is very episodic. It is an episodic line of storytelling. It is not going to be able to be properly captured in movie form.
That's true. But I still think I appreciate it when they've strung together more than one episode.
Yeah.
Because with my ADHD, to sit there and go, oh, we're going to wait a month to release another one.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I've done forgot what the other one was about.
Yeah. It's better when they do upload those compilation videos.
Yeah.
Of just the full series in one fell swoop.
Final thoughts.
Project Gemini, Local 58, they're really good. The Watson Files, it's a Five Nights at Freddy's knockoff, basically. Yeah. But it's still good.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Well, people may like the Greylock, you know, so I don't know.
It's all right.
It's interesting. It's hard for me to follow on some of it. I think it's a little too obscure, and it could just be that the lead in is taking so long.
It's very slow.
But it's also very erratic, the way that it's done, the filming style, and it's just, yeah.
I think that's just wrong.
Maybe they just needed to have a little Stratera.
I think that's just Mr. Gavigan's personality.
Yeah, it could be. He's a little over the top. He's very intense.
Yeah.
So that may be what it is. Anyhow, if you've had experiences with...
There are no faces.
Yeah, there are no faces. Yeah.
There are no faces.
That was, yeah. Yeah.
You need that audio clip for, like, just somehow extract it and put it in.
If you've had experiences with paranormal or supernatural encounters with UFOs, aliens, cryptids, if you would like to share your favorite analog, whatever, that would be great. Put that in the comment section. When we speak with each other, communicate with each other, that helps everybody in the world. And you can also email me, cupofcoffeewithscream@gmail.com. That's in the description box there somewhere.
Yeah, and if you like this video, don't forget to like, share, comment, most of all subscribe, and click that notification button, and check her out on Rumble and BitChute at Warlenda's Cup of Coffee with Scream. And you can check her out on X, previously known as Twitter, at Warlanda, COCWS. It is like a radio station call sign, so it'll be easy to look up.
I have met some really cool people there on X.
Yeah, you've actually really been vibing with X lately. So.
Well, I'm very selective, but some of the people, and it's mostly horror genre, it's just really cool people that just like spoopy shit.
Dead ass. Most people, the people will be like, "Oh, you're weird." No, the people who are not into the horror genre, those are the weird ones. Like, seriously, some of the kindest, nicest people have always been in the horror community.
Yeah. And just really neat people. And I still, as far as the meme lords, they may save us all.
Yeah.
Long live the meme. Know that you are loved. Treat other people the way that you would like to be treated. And Lord willing, we'll see you on the next cup.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.